Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So taking out a fun and interesting episode for you guys today because we're taking a look at the PC port of Chameleon Twist. Now don't get super excited yet, this is definitely still very early in its development, but it is available on GitHub. You can build it and start running it today, and I will leave a link in the description below if you want to do so. When I talked about decomp projects and PC ports coming soon, I mentioned Chameleon Twist in one of the videos, and it definitely got a lot of people excited, which made me happy because I didn't realize there was that many fans of Chameleon Twist out there. It is definitely one of the deeper cut 3D platformers on the Nintendo 64, but there is a ton of love about it. You'll see here this is running in the PC port from GitHub. Now of course you still have those letterbox bars there because the original 4x3 game would try to display an aspect ratio. So again, this is definitely very early in its development, but it's showing a ton of promise. It is playable, definitely has some graphical glitches, and it definitely has some weird textures going on here and there. But even in its unfinished state, it is so fun to take a look at and talk about because I do love talking about all these decomps and PC ports, and you love them as well. Before I get much further involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And I love this game, basically that Chameleon's getting a little bit closer to the magic pot, and that's basically what's going to become the inciting incident for this entire game. But do tell me in the comments down below, did you play Chameleon Twist back in the day or not? And if so, are you a fan of the game? So as we actually get into the game world here, you're going to see those letterbox bars are still going to persist as you actually get into the gameplay element. Then it's going to go into a full 16:9 aspect ratio, and that's definitely something a lot of these PC ports have been good at, giving us a new aspect ratio for a game that we know, love, and remember. You'll see here the animations on the Mad Hatter, or whatever it's supposed to be in the game, that rabbit, definitely still a little bit stilted, but otherwise this is just showing so much progress, and that is awesome because Chameleon Twist definitely, in my opinion, is a hidden gem. You might see that some of the floor textures are just completely corrupted or missing here as well, and a lot of those textures have some alignment issues, but it's kind of fun, and I love to say this, to see how the sausage gets made, to kind of go behind the scenes with a work in progress PC port, because many times when we get ports, whether it's something like Mario Kart 64 or any of the other ones I've talked about on the channel, they're almost completely buttoned up and just to the stages of bug fixing. This one here definitely is in the early stages, so it just gives you a little bit of an active look at the development. I will say in these early stages the controls can feel a little bit imprecise and wiggly for lack of a better term, but it definitely does work, and once you get the hang of it, you're going to be playing Chameleon Twist in 16:9 on your PC, which is definitely impressive even if it definitely isn't a finished build. But it is one of those projects I'm excited to see where it moves forward to, because this is actual N64 footage of the game here, and you'll see that's where that letterbox is coming from. And you can definitely see, even though the PC port has graphical corruption, it is looking a lot better already than what you actually get in the original N64 version of the game. But those animation cycles on the jump are definitely persisting from one version to the other. And I felt like putting up some side-by-side comparison footage would be good on this one, because as the PC port isn't done, you kind of have to see where things change and where they kind to remain the same. But this game, again, is just so incredibly charming, and I feel like it's a title that a lot of people didn't play back in the day. The people that know it love it, the people that don't know it probably aren't interested in going back into the N64 and playing it again, and that's what I always mention in these decomp projects. A lot of times people would go and play these games, but if they didn't experience them back in the N64 era, they might feel like they're a little bit old and antiquated. And you'll see there, if you use the tongue at the wrong angle, you get this weird particle effect coming off to the right hand side of the screen. But that is the fun thing about playing with these incomplete builds of games. You kind of get to see what's going on, you get to see the culling, you get to see the errors, and you get to kind of understand where it is in the development process, because again, this looks really good even if it is glitched, and it definitely has a higher internal rendering resolution, because in just a moment I'll switch over to the N64 version of the game and you will see the night and day difference between what you would expect on N64 and what you get here on the PC, because this definitely has a nice blur to it, a nice vibe, but the camera's in a little bit closer by default, and it just has a completely different look going on. One of my favorite parts about Chameleon Twist is the absolutely insanely charming and good soundtrack, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds within the PC port of the game, and I'll come back and show you a lot more footage of the port and tell you where I hope it goes next. But enjoy, because it is good. Honestly, one of the best soundtracks on N64 in my opinion, but if we actually go into the menu here, and if it looks familiar, that's because this is basically built on some of the PC port processors and applications of the Legend of Zelda games. You're going to get the same stuff about all of the different controls. You're going to be able to configure everything, change up your graphical settings just like you would in something like Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, and that's going to be fun. It's a great platform for people to bring more of these PC ports to us for N64 games, so it definitely is an asset, but just don't be surprised if not every single thing works in here, because again, this is still an early version of the game, and it definitely isn't doing everything exactly as it should, but what it is doing is promising. Now, of course, if you look down below there, it seems like the overall skybox, or at least in this instance, the ground box is only running at 4x3. It isn't really extending out, but that's something you see in a lot of games like this until developers get a chance to go back in and kind of amend it. Supermodel, the Model 3 emulator, had 16:9 mode, but the skyboxes would always be in 4x3 until developers went in there and kind of fixed that up, so I'm expecting to see the same thing out of Chameleon Twist. But honestly, this game I think upscales really nicely. Some of the textures can be a little bit janky, but otherwise it has a clean look. But again, this is one of those games, there was something about the VI implementation and the blur here that kind of made it that much more charming, because of course when you have that blur, the ground texture kind of looks a little bit more like ground. When you're on the PC port version of the game, you can definitely see the raw pixels and edges, and it kind of ends up looking like exactly what it should grasp, but also looking a little bit stranger at the same time. So it's one of those things. You leave me a comment down below, original blur or the PC port version of the game. And again, I know a lot of people are going to be excited about this one, because not many people realized that this was getting decomped, let alone ported to PC, and it kind of just showed up out of nowhere as something that could run. Now, I don't know if I would go in today and start playing a full playthrough of the game. It's definitely going to still be buggy, but I talked to a few people that did play this in their own spare time, and they were able to complete the game, so it doesn't seem like anything that's going to fight you and crash or screw up your saves, but it definitely isn't going to be 100% complete. And you'll see here, at least in areas that are indoors, that 16:9 widescreen aspect ratio definitely works a lot better than it does outdoors when you have that skybox or ground box. And in the screen transitions, it will go to 4:3, because again, that is how the game is set up. So that's something in the PC port that would have to be adjusted and amended, because you definitely want things to be looking like they should in 16:9 along with 4:3. But if you just run this PC port in 4:3, basically all of those issues would completely go away. And that is the thing, some people love to run these in 4:3 to the original aspect ratio, and other people love the widescreen support. So leave me a comment down below and you tell me, widescreen or 4:3 when you're on a PC port. For me personally, I do love the widescreen, but I get that sometimes games are built around that 4:3 aspect ratio, and sometimes there really isn't anything to the left and right hand side of the screen that's going to be that interesting, because when developers were making games back in the 4:3 standard definition era, they were only building the screen and filling it with what they needed in that 4:3 aspect ratio. So of course you're going to end up in situations where you just have stuff to the left and right that you either shouldn't see and looks a little bit weird or really isn't relevant to the game. And just kind of hopping around here, this is a game that I feel like really benefits from an original N64 controller or something like the Brawler 64, because the layout on something like an Xbox Series X pad or whatever else you might be using makes it a little bit more difficult, because the tongue mechanics definitely can be challenging and they feel slightly off here in the PC build versus the N64 game. Not so much so that it's going to affect you, but it's definitely one of those things you might notice it every once in a while. And the animation when the tongue starts flickering at the end feels like it's missing maybe a frame or two, and once you actually get hit by an enemy, you'll see that flash is definitely still at 4:3, but otherwise this is definitely a very promising start, and I can't wait to see what else comes out for Chameleon Twist, because not only is this game incredible, the sequel Chameleon Twist 2 is great as well, and I'd love to see both of these games recomped, decomped, or PC ported over so we can enjoy them. And that is the thing, there's a lot of people out there that would love to play a game like this, but if they just don't have that nostalgia factor for it on N64, if you set them down in front of a console or Mr. FPGA or even software emulation, they might just think to themselves, it looks a little bit too old for me to enjoy. But hopefully soon I'll have an update on this one, and leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you play this back in the day or not? I would be curious. And honestly, just having a Chameleon Twist PC port, even if it's not done, is awesome. If you want to play it, I will leave a link to the GitHub page down below. Short of that, we're done. We're gonna hop in this magic pot, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.